Okay, so we're diving into tariffs today.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something that I think a lot of people
Yeah.
kind of scratch their heads about, like,
Right.
what exactly are they and what do they mean for me,
Especially in real estate.
especially in real estate?
Yeah.
You're interested in real estate, it sounds like, maybe even with an eye on the home healthcare side of things.
Okay.
But you're like, okay, so how do tariffs
Right.
play into this whole equation?
Yeah, these import taxes can really throw a wrench in your plans if you don't see them coming.
Yeah.
And they can hit you in some really unexpected ways.
Yeah, like it's not just about like,
Right.
okay, this thing costs more now.
Exactly.
It kind of has these ripple effects.
It's a chain reaction. You
Yeah.
know, the price of one thing goes up,
Right.
and suddenly your whole budget's out of whack.
Right. And we're going to talk about some of those ways that happens.
Absolutely.
So let's start with just like the very basic
Okay.
construction costs.
Sure.
So, lumber, steel, aluminum. These are like
The building blocks.
the building blocks of
Yeah.
any project.
Yeah.
And when you slap tariffs on those materials,
Oh,
that can get pricey.
it gets expensive fast.
Yeah. So that new construction project,
Right.
or even just like a renovation you've been dreaming about, suddenly is costing you way more than you thought it would.
Yeah. And you mentioned you're looking at properties in listeners' location, right?
Right.
Have you thought about maybe using locally sourced material instead of relying on tariff-impacted material?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, it could really save you some money.
And I feel like that plays into this whole idea of like
Yeah.
local sourcing and like supporting,
Absolutely.
the economy where you are.
Right, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You get better prices and you're boosting your local community.
And you're less reliant
Exactly.
on these global markets that are so volatile.
Exactly. And on that note, another thing to consider is pre-buying in bulk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, especially if you've already got your plan set.
Right.
You can lock in those prices before they go up even more.
So it's like you're kind of creating your own little
Yeah,
stockpile.
exactly. A strategic reserve of materials.
Okay, but that's a big upfront cost, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Like how do you
Yeah.
navigate that as an investor?
Well, it's all about balancing risk and reward, right?
Hey.
You have to weigh the potential savings against the cost of holding that inventory.
Yeah.
But for those key materials, the ones that are likely to see price hikes,
Right.
it can be a really smart move in the long run.
I see. So you're basically
Yeah,
betting on the fact that it's going to be even more expensive later.
exactly.
Okay.
And something else I've been seeing more of
Yeah.
is prefabricated and modular construction.
Oh, yeah. It's like building with giant Legos
It is a bit like that.
or houses.
And because they often rely less on those tariff-impacted materials,
Right.
they can be a really cost-effective option.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got your materials.
Right.
You've figured that all out.
Uh-huh.
You've got your property.
Yeah.
What about contracts?
Contracts are crucial, especially when you're dealing with new construction.
Okay.
You need to protect yourself from those fluctuating costs.
So fixed price contracts.
Fixed price contracts are your best friend in this situation.
Okay.
It's like a safety net. You know exactly what your project's going to cost no matter what happens with tariffs or labor costs.
So you're not going to get hit with like
Exactly.
surprise bill
Yeah.
like halfway through.
No surprises.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it gives you that peace of mind.
Okay, so we talked about materials. We've talked about contracts.
Uh-huh.
What about location?
Location, right?
Always.
But seriously, some regions are just way more vulnerable to tariff impacts than others.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, think about areas that are heavily reliant on international trade.
Right.
They're going to feel those tariff tremors a lot more.
So it's like if you're putting all your eggs in one basket,
Exact.
and that basket is in a very
Right.
tariff-heavy zone.
You're setting yourself up for potential problems.
Okay, so diversify.
Diversify.
Yeah.
Diversify.
Spread it out.
Spread it out geographically.
Okay,
It's like a buffer against those economic hiccups.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the location.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all this stuff sort of figured out.
Right.
Now, what about financing?
Financing is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Imagine this. You secure a long-term, low-interest loan
Okay.
before inflation really kicks in.
Right.
You're essentially locking in favorable terms and mitigating the impact of rising costs.
So you're kind of outsmarting the system.
You're playing the long game.
I like it.
And don't underestimate the power of local partnerships,
Oh, yeah.
both with suppliers and investors.
Okay.
Building those relationships can really help you weather those global market fluctuations.
So like you're creating this little
Yeah.
ecosystem that can kind of
Right.
support itself. It's
Yeah.
exactly less reliance on imports, more stability all around.
I like it. Okay, so we've talked about all of the, like,
Right.
sort of getting the project off the ground part of it.
Okay.
What about the day-to-day, like the operations?
Right, because even if you've bent your property and you're ready to go,
Yeah.
tariffs can still hit you through rising operational costs,
Oh, interesting.
mainly due to inflation.
Okay, so what can a property manager do?
Well, one thing is to adjust those lease structures.
Okay.
Maybe include some escalation clauses.
Can you break down what an escalation clause is?
Yeah, so let's say your operating costs go up 5% because of inflation.
Okay.
With an escalation clause, you can pass a portion of that increase onto your tenants.
Right.
So you're not absorbing the whole hit yourself.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it helps protect your bottom line and ensure your investment stays profitable.
Are there other strategies that property managers can use?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can strategically increase rents if the market allows.
And investing in cost-efficient technology can also make a big difference.
Like what kind of technology?
Things like smart HVAC systems,
Okay.
solar panels,
Huh.
anything that helps reduce those long-term operational expenses.
So it's about being proactive.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So bringing it back to
Yeah.
kind of your interest in this home healthcare side of real estate,
Right.
that's an interesting sector because it tends to be a little bit less
Yeah.
sensitive to these tariffs.
It's kind of a haven in that regard.
Interesting.
Yeah. Instead of pouring money into new construction, which we've already talked about, can be really vulnerable to tariff impacts. Why not look into existing properties that you could convert into healthcare facilities?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. It could be a way to enter the market while minimizing your exposure to those fluctuating costs.
So it's about being strategic and finding the opportunity within the chaos.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to kind of sum up everything we've talked about,
Yeah.
tariffs have a huge impact
They do.
on real estate.
Yeah. On everything.
They really do affect every single aspect of it.
From construction costs to operational expenses.
Yeah, but there are things that you can do
Absolutely.
to mitigate those risks.
With a little foresight and strategy, you can navigate this landscape successfully.
Whether you're interested in new construction property management
Right.
or even this home healthcare world.
The key is to stay informed, stay adaptable, and your real estate endeavors will be just fine.
Solid ground.
Solid ground.
And speaking of solid ground, I want to thank our sponsors for their support.
Yes, definitely.
If you are looking for reliable, compassionate transportation for yourself or a loved one, definitely check out Graceful Journeys.
Great company.
They specialize in transportation for the elderly and the disabled.
Yeah.
And their founder, Angela Kraft, is really committed to providing that top-notch care.
Absolutely.
And then for accessible housing options, check out Flowers and Associates.
Yeah, they're great.
They specialize in special needs housing, and they
really understand the needs of that community.
really get it.
Yeah.
You can give them a call at 901-458-148.
Easy to remember.
Or visit them online at flowersandassociatesbooking.com.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.